Hey now. All righty. Let's find the green screen. Right. Will TikTok do me right? Will TikTok do me right? Of course it does. TikTok never does me right with this background, ever. Ever, ever, ever.
Listen, my first roundtable, it started me off with filters.
All right. What is happening with my screen here? You know what? Let me see. There we go. Had a little smudge there. Okay, for the candidates, we got Sal. Hello, Sal. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. We got Joy, and we got Angela. You guys, share this with your followers, please. Please. Share. Repost it. There are several ways to share the TikTok Live. You can repost it. You can add it to your story. And finally, you can just share it out to your followers. Spam your followers, honey. Spam them. Let them know that you are here. Joy is here with her hats.
Hello.
Let's see. Press down on the prompt, on the accounts prompt, and just hit the send.
Perfect.
So we can get as many people in here as possible. For the audience and also for the candidates, send some likes. Send some likes and send your daily heartme to help support the account, help support our efforts here. As you can see, if you've been here for a while, we're here all the time. We're doing this several times a week. We've been doing this since September. And this is the year. It is finally here that the primaries and the midterm general election, the big test, finally arrived. Some of you have a longer wait than others. So, let's see. I'm going to spam everybody. Okay, we got a few more candidates, waiting for a few more people to arrive. So while we do that, again, just like the live so we can get up. See if we can get up to about 3,500 before we get started. We need 3 more daily heartmes on the accounts goal for the flash goal. So if you haven't sent your daily heartme, go ahead and do that. We can get it warmed up. You know, you got to prime the pump before you hit start, right? When I'm out there with my snowblower, I got to prime that thing before I start it. Otherwise, it won't do anything.
Yup.
Yeah.
Come on, everybody. We're just trying to save democracy here. No big deal.
No big deal.
Come on, everybody. I know you guys want to talk about it now. Come on.
No pressure. No pressure on anybody. And we're all cool. It's all cool, my babies. Be cool.
There's nothing else more important.
Truly.
Currently, I mean, listen, I describe it as a series of, you know, that show Little Fires Everywhere from the book?
Yep.
That's what we're dealing with. Little fires everywhere.
Absolutely.
There's a big one here in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, there is.
I'm sure we'll
You
talk
guys-
a lot about that.
Well, okay, so I just want to ask you, has the National Guard been called? I saw that story yesterday.
You know, I think the media is really pumping like it's so dangerous in Minneapolis. They have to call in the National Guard. And no, they're on standby. They're not called in.
Okay.
What people are seeing on TV or videos are state troopers and Minneapolis Police Department, you know, coming in. And so, you know, the National Guard, at least here in Minnesota, is teachers, corporate office workers.
Right.
You know,
right.
they're definitely not in the business of protecting humans, but they are in the business of protecting infrastructure, bringing emergency supplies to things. And so
Okay.
it would definitely cause a bit of chaos to call them in, as they too wouldn't be able to do much beyond be a constitutional observer.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good to know. It's good to know.
Wow.
I mean, it's good to know that they're not needed, because that means that things are okay for the most part.
Yeah. I think the media is really wanting to portray it as so chaotic here. And I was in Minneapolis yesterday going about my business. They did have some exits, you know, closed with plows, so people couldn't go to the downtown area where there was supposed to be a Nazi rally. If you saw anything about that in the media, it was only a handful of people. They were more than outnumbered and kind of ran out of the downtown area. So
That's
We
good
do
to
see
hear.
that a lot. The smaller stories sometimes get expanded by the media into a much larger thing, and then once one media outlet picks up one and another one does, and then before you know it, CNN is there, and they're
absolutely. And really, people are posting and reporting on things before factual information is known. And that really just causes a lot of chaos. So it was a little tense here a couple of days ago. And ICE agents were throwing like the firecrackers into the protesters. That was all over the media. But since then, a federal judge here in Minnesota said that ICE agents could not retaliate against peaceful protesters because they had been just spraying them with mace and throwing those poppers. So I think
we have a constitution, people.
I know.
We have a constitution.
know.
We have the right to peaceful assembly.
Yep.
You have the right to protest. You can't be lawfully be stopped from doing that on public property.
Yep.
So remember that. It's a shame that we have to keep running to the courts to remind
I know.
the government of their responsibility to the people, but here we are.
Here we are.
So are we waiting for I think we're waiting for one more person, I think. Moderators, let me know who else we're waiting for. I don't want to get started without everybody present.
Looks
I
like
wasn't
Banks for
signed up
Illinois
for
is
this
coming.
live, so if you guys need to drop me for someone who was scheduled
no.
for today, I
You're
totally
not
understand.
going anywhere. You're going nowhere. You stay right there.
I'll get on camera as soon as I can get my camera set up. I was not planning for that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. We did have one person reschedule. Ashley Manx is coming up. Okay. So when we get Mike on camera and Ashley, I'm just going to go ahead and read our introduction. Our vote counts. Hello, my name is Ayana. I think I've met Angela.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Nice to see you.
Okay, nice to see you again. I'm like, I know I've talked to a few of you. Okay, my name is Ayana. I'm one of the moderators here for Our Vote Counts. This is our candidates roundtable. We've done this a few times before. We do it every other Sunday, so we'll have another one on February 1st. But we like to get the candidates together who we've talked to or who we are planning on talking to just kick around some ideas, talk about how campaigning is going, issues that might be on their mind that they haven't been able to address yet. So Our Vote Counts, or OVC, is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. This is a collective effort. So if you are in the chat and you have questions for anyone on the panel, including myself, I don't know why you would have a question for me, but that's fine. If you have any questions, hit the multi-guest option and you can come up and you can ask the question yourself, or you can leave it in the chat and I will address it to the candidates. Also, be respectful in the chat. This is not a debate kind of thing. This is just, we're all talking. We're all talking. You're all friendly, just shooting the breeze. Like that ending scene in Stranger Things where they were just all sitting around talking about the things that adults do when they become adults. So looks like we have, who do we have in the queue? Do we know who that is in the queue? Quentin?
Yes,
Okay, are you a candidate or you?
I'm a candidate.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not, some faces I am familiar with and some faces I am not, so I apologize. We're waiting on Kyah Creekmore and Jon Kiper. Listen,
Okay.
if y'all not gonna show up on time, why did I rush from Lowe's where I was looking at plants to be here on time? I'm kidding. I was looking at plants though. That's one of my favorite things to do
Yeah,
lately.
Piper should be here.
Yeah, I just love to go and stare at plants. Sometimes I bring them home and my daughter yells at me, but it's okay. So for everyone who is here, please introduce yourself. I'll start with Sal. Sal, go ahead.
Sure. Hi, guys. My name is Sal Padellaro. I am running for a House congressional seat in District 5 in New York, which is the Jamaica, New York area, running to restore accountability, protect families, and rebuild trust in government. Obviously, things are a bit chaotic right now, so I really believe power belongs to the people, not political machines, not any one individual, corporations, or fear-based law enforcement. So really trying to straighten things out and help our communities here in New York City. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Thank you, Sal. Mike, go ahead. Mike, you're muted, dear.
Yeah, I was out of the program trying to get my background up, but my name is Mike Heidenreich. I'm running for Congress in the 6th District in Wisconsin, and we've been doing events almost every day. I was recently, you could have seen me at Pete Buttigieg's town hall in La Crosse, and then we had a town hall the next day in Sheboygan, and we've had packed rooms every single place we go. I look at myself as a progressive Democrat, and I would love to talk to y'all about whatever you are interested in being represented on.
Okay, we're going to get to that. Quentin, go ahead.
Yes, my name's Quentin McQueen. I'm running for the 8th District inside Baltimore for Congress. I'm also a progressive. I believe that we need less government and we need more tampons in boys' bathrooms. We need more trannies.
Oh,
We need
okay.
more trannies
All right.
inside
All
our
right.
bathrooms.
Okay. Well, that was a troll. Your first troll. Congratulations, everyone.
Love it.
Oh, precious. Precious Lord.
It wasn't
take
even a
this
good
hand.
troll either.
I was like so confused. I was like, oh.
They love to use the buzzwords, right? Just those, throw out those buzzwords. Now, here's Ashley. Ashley's not a troll. Ashley's a real person. Hey, Ashley, how are you?
No, I'm not a troll, but I'm finally able to go live. Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley.
Can you introduce yourself and let the people know what office you're running for?
Hi, I'm Ashley Banks. You guys saw me the first time, but my camera wasn't working. Banks for Illinois. I'm an independent out of Chicago for District 2. I'm running for a congressional District 2. Sorry, I'm nervous because I forgot about this. So here I am. Thank y'all for the gifts.
Well, we're glad that you could join us anyway. Go ahead, Joy.
Hi, I'm Joy Hoover. I am running in Nevada's 1st District, Congressional District, and I'm running to provide dignity, safety, opportunity, and trust to Nevadans, bringing back for the people, with the people. I'm running against a 37-year incumbent and just ready to truly represent the people of Nevada.
All right. Thank you, Joy. And Angela.
Yeah, hi everyone. Angie Nelson. I am in Minnesota and I'm running for Minnesota State Senate in District 35, which is north suburban area just outside of Minneapolis. I am also going against a longtime Republican incumbent who has been in office since I was in high school. And I just had my 25th class reunion. So really looking to represent the district as it stands right now, not what it looked like 25 years ago, and excited to be here today. So thanks for inviting me.
All
Angela, we
right.
saw some of your constituents at that town hall. I was in La Crosse.
Yeah.
Some of them were from the northern area of Minneapolis, and
Yep.
there was not a dry eye in the room when they were discussing what was going on.
Yeah.
And it was hard to listen to, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
So,
My campaign manager actually helped Pete and was there. And I wonder if you talked to her. That's probably it. Small world.
I might have actually. I talked to almost everyone in
Yeah.
the room, so
Wow, look at that.
So can we just dive into talking about what's going on? Because I have been reading about this for a while now about Department of Homeland Security and the creation of ICE and deportations and immigration. And I did a little bit of immigration work when I was in law school, so I'm familiar at least with the old process under INS. Now it's DHS and it's ICE and it's all these other things. And immigration enforcement itself has been lumped into national security. And one of the conflicts I see of at least the Democratic Party is that they're culpable, if you want to say culpable, or they're responsible for the creation of ICE. They're responsible for the creation of DHS. I mean, that Patriot Act passed through Congress, through both houses, with virtually no opposition. And most of the immigration reforms that have been passed since Clinton passed through both houses with virtually no opposition. So we want reform, but we don't know what reform should look like, obviously. And when we see something is not working, we are shy to change it, right? Right now, we're seeing something that's obviously not working, but we still do need enforcement measures in place. What do you all think is a good policy road to take when it comes strictly to immigration enforcement? Not to processing visas and all of that, but just to people coming into the US and removing people who have violated the law and who should be deported. What do you think is a good policy road to take? Ashley, you can go ahead first.
So, first, we must start with the fact that we already have passports. People are coming from other countries already documented. I don't know what's going on in reference to this need to enforce any more regulation. It's been working for us for years, way before the Trump administration. So, the difference now is that it seems this is self-centered, this goal, this initiative. So I actually like the current things that we have in place. I'm just concerned to why they are being questioned or changed all of a sudden when we have great law enforcement and we already have things in place. So my answer to that is we need to look over the policies that we already have in place to be able to see if they need to be changed, extended, or what's needed. So a lot of oversight is needed to what's going on with this administration. I'm sorry for being lengthy.
If I may, Ayana, I have a pretty strong stance towards this. So, I mean, at this point, I don't think there is any more reform or retraining that could happen as far as ICE. It needs to be abolished. Just point blank, period. ICE needs to go. So it's become a tool of fear. We're seeing families separated. I know, Angela, you said that things aren't as bad as they seem on the ground in Minneapolis. I've been brought to tears watching ICE officers run up to people, ask them, "Where are your papers? Where are you from?" "Oh, it sounds like you're not from this country. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." So we're dealing with that right here in Queens, and political intimidation and immigration should be handled by civilian rights-based agencies. I've proposed something called MELT, which is Managing Escalation, Legal, and Transparency. This would be a community-based team which would arrive to the scene when ICE is being reported, and they would handle the legalities, the transparencies. They would make sure who is involved would be exposed and that things would be handled the correct way, the way that is humane, in a way where people won't get their eye sockets bashed in or disappeared off the streets. So until ICE is dismantled, we need to fund these Know Your Rights campaigns and education, support community rapid response teams, and really, really straighten things out. And I think once we have a Congress that will actually do something, we need to abolish ICE. And like I said, bring in a civilian rights-based team, not another law enforcement that's going to go rogue paramilitary on the United States, but something that actually cares about processing the visas, working through the legal hurdles of coming into this country as a new citizen with a family. So that's my stance on ICE. Abolish it.
All right.
I
Go ahead.
just wanna, sorry.
Oh, no. Ange, then
Whoever you
Mike.
want to go next.
Okay.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Sal and Ashley. And just to be clear, when I said it's not as bad on the ground, I mean, we don't need any more federal law enforcement to come help regulate our citizens. But in terms of what you're describing and what's happening with ICE, that very much is happening here. People are carpooling with citizens that have come to our country and are here legally. They're so terrified. There's meal trains set up, and really communities are coming together within their community to make sure that people have food, that they have the medicine they need, that they can have rides. Parents are standing guard outside of schools because we have parents being picked up from bus stops right outside of schools. It's really bad. And so we have a lot of these rapid response teams out in neighborhoods. And what I would say to the initial question that was asked around a policy is the intended outcome when Trump first came up was that he needed and wanted to get rid of undocumented violent criminals. And somehow that has transpired into going door to door to just see anyone who is not white, because that's also something that has drastically changed, which is racial profiling is all of a sudden legal again, and people are getting stopped. So people's actual constitutional rights are not being followed. And so I agree. I think that needs to go, because the intended outcome, it's not happening. Like moms that they're taking and they know where they live because of their tax documents, because they work at a preschool, they are not the violent criminals we were promised he would get rid of. I do feel like this is some type of like ethnic cleansing, because it has gone from undocumented folks to anyone who looks like they might be from another country. Coming soon to Minnesota specifically is going to be the temporary protected status is being revoked. And it's no secret that we have the largest Somali population here in Minnesota, many legal citizens, but I know I can project into the future, this is going to happen. We continue to see this racial profiling, and it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not anymore. And so I'm with Sal. The current process we have is not working. But it is actually getting the outcome it was intended to get, because that's why we're being flooded here in Minnesota. This is what the intended outcome is. It has nothing to do with cleaning up criminals off our street. It has nothing to do about that anymore.
And just so you know, removing people who are not criminals has been an issue with ICE from the very beginning of ICE, since 2003. They, even under Obama, one of the reasons why he had the highest number of deportations his first year in office was because ICE was detaining and immigration and enforcement was removing people who were not criminals. More than half of the people were not criminals. They had perhaps committed an administrative violation of some sort, but they were being removed anyway when ICE was only supposed to go after the criminals. So it seems like that's been an issue from the beginning that none of the subsequent Congress or presidents have been able to address. So, Mike, what do you think finally will do it?
Honestly, it's going to have to be us going and saying, this is enough. We have to go in and say this organization was set up under a false pretense. We were told on every, heck, even some that weren't out and out lying about it, but just were saying, oh, there's immigrants flooding our country with, crime and all this. And it was bull. It was a lie told to basically convince people to point their hate at some group, at immigrants, so they didn't notice that they were being robbed by the politicians who were telling them to point their hate there. That's all it is. That is, I mean, don't get me wrong, the ethnic cleansing portion of it isn't exactly unintended consequence. It's very much intended by the people who did it, but it was entirely because that was a group they could point people at and say, hate this group, focus your attention on this group. This group is all your problems being caused by them. And then they're being robbed blind by the very people who are telling them to hate and telling them to, focus their attention there. I don't think ICE, as it is right now, is a institution that has any use in America. It's being used to cause fear. It is not getting any criminals off the streets that wouldn't have already been caught by law enforcement institutions that were set up and actually have the training to do this. They're getting 47 days of training. I got more training as a security guard than it was unarmed. That's ridiculous. Like, there isn't even enough time, let alone to learn the actual physical things you have to do. There is not enough time to learn any of the legal complexity. I'm not surprised they are not aware that they do not have the same arrest rights that police officers do, or the FBI, or anyone else. If you're an American citizen, according to the law, ICE cannot touch you. ICE does not have any arrest rights. So if ICE is sitting here, other than, if the same arrest rights that anyone would have if someone's physically harming them, like, that's different. What I'm talking about is if they come up to you and say, where are your papers? You're an American citizen. You can be like, buddy, go away. And that should be it, but it's not. We are having citizens across this country physically, violently harmed by ICE. And they know what this is doing. They have to know. They're not that stupid. They have to know that this is causing them to lose every bit of the independent vote and every bit of anyone who's paying attention. They are only retaining their actual base. So the only way I can see this working out for them is if they basically create enough distraction that people get to the midterms without doing any actual election work. Because I mean, at the base of it all, our work as politicians, as people who are trying to get elected, is getting our names and faces in front of voters so that they can actually understand who we are and know what we're for. And if we're spending all our time trying to reassure people that they're even going to be able to go to the polls safely, then we won't have the time to go out and do our job of getting elected. And really, I can't think of any other reason why you would deliberately make people think, I'm a mom coming home from school. There's a chance ICE is going to unalive me.
And Joy,
can anyone come up with a reason why that would be a good idea?
Well, we'll let Joy chime in because she's in a southern border state, and the southern border is a hot topic every election cycle. Joy, what do you think?
Yeah, let's not forget that Lake and Riley kind of started this out, right? And the reason that they were saying that they were pushing Lake and Riley forward is because illegal aliens, which I would never use that term, are killing women. But let's know the statistics, and the statistics are that about 1.6% of native-born adults are incarcerated at any given time, and only like half of that are immigrants. So if this was truly a men killing women problem, which happens every 10 minutes in America, then this would be ICE agents harming, every man that creates harm would be picked up by ICE, and it would not be largely immigrants. It would be largely white men, and that's statistically proven. So I think, at the end of the day, right now, Congress has the ability for the next basically 2 weeks to push forward against legislation that funds ICE additionally, giving more billions of dollars to ICE. So that to me is the first step right now, is that everyone call their Congress people to say, don't approve this additional billions of dollars going to ICE. But then beyond that, I think at the end of the day, we have to get out there and protest. We have to get out there. Yesterday I was at a protest, and it was an amazing experience to have people come together to say, we don't want ICE in our state. We don't want people harmed by ICE. But protesting, I think, is obviously a huge right that we can. But then in our legislation, those of us that are running, to truly put forth evidence, statistics, and the understanding of what this actually is, which we know the Epstein files have not been released. We know there's so many things that this is a distraction, and it's going to continue moving forward. There's always some distraction, and this timing is immigrants and trans folks, obviously. But the distraction cannot distract us. We have to put forth the evidence and the statistics to truly understand what is actually going on right now.
Thank you, Joy. I wanted to hear from Anthony because we haven't heard from him yet, and then Sal, I'll let you go. But Anthony, what do you think should be the policy? Either change or completely just take the Patriot Act and rip it up and say, let's start over. What do you think, Anthony?
I agree with what Mike and Sal and all of us are. I came in late, so yes, ICE needs to be abolished. We worked as a nation without that before. This is a new, more government, bigger government, more expense to the taxpayers of America, and it needs to be abolished. And my question to the sitting party, Democratic Party and Republican Party, mostly the Democratic Party as a whole, my question is, where is your bill to do that? Where is it? Where's your bill?
Yeah.
Where's your discharge petition? That's not a declaration. That's there for whatever minority party is in power. Where's that? Because we have no representation at this point. We have 535 lobby members ruling over 340 million Americans. That's exactly what we have now.
Exactly. And I was just going to point out that ICE, let's also remember, it needs to be abolished. The Patriot Act needs to be ripped up and thrown away because we have members of the Proud Boys who have been hired by ICE to cause terror within the streets. So these are people that are primed and ready, filled with hate, that have been waiting for this moment their whole life. When Trump said stand by and stand down, this is what he meant. Those people immediately were ready to join ICE. They got their sign-up bonus, and they're able to do whatever they want with impunity now in the streets. Not only that, the leader, Enrique Tarrio, was reportedly leaked that he is serving in ICE. That's just extremely concerning. These people want to harm people. It's been compromised from the top down. So I just wanted to add that bit of info. But I completely agree with what you're saying.
So it seems that there's some grievances against the Democratic Party. That's fine. I have my own grievances against the Democratic Party, and I've voted Democrat my entire life. What should be the most pressing policy priority of the Democratic Party? Is it economic growth, redistribution of wealth, protecting social programs? What should the party say, we're going to get behind this right now? I understand ICE. I got that. ICE, absolutely. But other than that, we are looking at issues of affordability. There is an affordability crisis in the United States currently that is going ignored because we're being distracted. Like someone said, we're being distracted by Venezuela and Iran and, get rid of the immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then Americans are just sitting back waiting like, when is anybody going to talk about us? When is anybody going to focus on us and what our needs are? What should the Democratic Party right now sit down and say, this is it? This is what we're going to focus on. And if you're not a Democrat, that's fine too. You can still weigh in. Ashley.
Betsy, do you have to go? I think she said you had to
know
go.
how I am because I'm independent. I get I get the craziness, but I have nothing against Democrats or Republicans. I was a Democratic election judge. So I was Democrat most of my life. But let me get to the answer to the question. Let's start off with housing. We're facing a huge homelessness population. I am seeing stories about homeless people being deported to other countries. This is an issue because, again, everyone pays taxes. You have people who are working and they're homeless and they're paying taxes, but yet our taxes are being refuted to places that they should not be. So I want to be clear about that part. Also, we should look at jobs. What is going on with the companies and oversight on the jobs and the companies that we allow in our communities? Because again, I talked about the grants being given to the big companies. Well, these are grants that come from the community. So we got to focus on making sure that the taxpayers have the jobs that they need where they don't travel far. We also have to make sure they have proper housing to be able to, take care of themselves and their families without the thought of not having a house to go to. Then the third is the big one. Healthcare. We need healthcare reform. This healthcare is eating a lot of us up. We're losing people. I do want to touch on the topic about, and again, it's sad to say, to have to put race in this, but again, Black women are being targeted in the emergency rooms. Women are being targeted in the emergency rooms, and we don't have sufficient oversight to make sure this is not happening. We need to eliminate these lawsuits. These lawsuits are actually a problem because they're taking taxpayers' money. So we have to have more oversight on what's going on. And that's my take on that.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Joy, you can go next.
Thank you. I agree with you, Ashley, totally. And I think my opinion as the first thing that we need to do is to ban stock trading and to overturn Citizens United and to stop lobbyists from being able to buy out politicians. Because if we want for instance, in Nevada, we have one specific private equity group out of New York that's bought up over 4,500 houses. And those corporations are paying our politicians so that they don't vote against it. Just like healthcare. Those healthcare companies are paying our politicians so that they don't fight against healthcare. And so to me, there's so many, the major problems is affordability, it is housing, it is healthcare. But if we want our ability to actually be able to fight those things for our constituents and for our neighbors, one, we need to not take money from those folks to actually get into Congress and then overturn the ways that people are able to buy out these super PACs and, buy out these politicians and how much money they come with that could never come. We, as grassroots candidates, we could never fight against that. So coming together for our grassroots candidates, which I assume most everyone on this call is, I think is super pivotal. And then really when we get to Congress, taking big money out of politics so that we can get the job done for our neighbors. That to me is extremely pivotal.
All right, Mike.
I want to I just have one question, and then I'm going to address a bunch of stuff. Joy, are you really wearing sombrero? That's not your background?
I'm wearing a hat.
I was like, that's an awesome hat. There was a little bit in the comments that people were saying, well, why are you dragging the Democrats when they're the minority party, when they're not, not able to do things? And what I want to be clear is being critical of the Democratic Party does not mean you are not a Democrat and does not mean you are not a favor of Democratic policies.
Exactly.
It's saying, I don't like what this specific Democrat is doing. And I think as Democrats, we should be the ones most critical of the Democratic Party because we're actually in a position to do something about it. Mm-hmm. If I don't like who the leader of the DNC is, I have people I can go talk to try and make that a different person. That's what we're supposed to do as Democrats. So
it's what you're supposed to do as a voter. Mm-hmm. You don't like a politician, you don't like their policies, hey, vote them out.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And it's one of the things that I think as Democrats, we have to get in our heads, in all of our heads, is that being critical of the Democratic Party does not mean you're against Democratic priorities. It does not mean you don't want all these things to happen. It's you're saying, hey, if we do this, this is going to leave an impression that we are corrupt, that we are not to be relied on. And you can't do that and expect people to vote for you. So I don't have a problem with people saying, hey, don't do this, or I don't like how the Democrats are doing it right now. Because I'll be honest with you, none of us are in office right now. I could still be a Democrat and say, yeah, I'm not a fan of this particular thing the Democratic Party is doing. I don't think the writing sternly worded letters era of American politics is going to cut it when we're resisting someone who's straight up unaliving people. That's not enough. Now, you asked for what should be our one priority. It should be all at once. We're multi-talented. We can focus on it all at once because we have to. We can't leave one specific thing and expect it not to cause a problem down the line. So we are going to have to focus on affordability. We are going to have to focus on getting money out of politics. We are going to have to focus on having a way that a candidate who's not a millionaire can actually run. I'm not a millionaire. No, I'm guessing all of you are not millionaires. And we're having to basically spend the majority of our time raising funds because otherwise we can't operate our campaigns.
Mm-hmm. And you know, and Mike, I'm with you. We can sit here and we can talk about how terrible we think the Republicans are for whatever that will do. It won't do any good because we're not here to solve if people should be Republicans or Democrats. We're here to solve what's best for the American people.
We should get back to the era where we're talking about the method we're using to, govern, not whether or not people deserve good governance. That's where we're at in America right now. Is they're basically saying, no, we don't deserve that good governance. It's instead of, oh, I prefer more this way or this way. We as a country got away from, I mean, most of the Democrats didn't, but pretty much the entire Republican Party that's left has gone so far right because their leader was so far right and because they started primarying all their moderate candidates. So when they tell us to compromise right now, and it's generally someone who's older, who's expecting that compromise to be something in the middle. But we have to recognize where the Republican Party is right now is not where it has been in the past. They are so far to the right of where they were that any compromise with them is basically to the right of an old Republican position would be where you'd end up. And so what I'm saying to the Democrats is we need to stop letting them set the conversation. We need to stop letting them tell us what to be concerned about. I let my voters do that. I let the people who are going to actually be voting for me tell me what I need to worry about. And what they're telling me they worry about is whether they can afford to live and whether they're going to have to worry about living when ICE shows up in their town. That to me are the things we need to focus on, are the things that are causing our constituents, are the people we're supposed to be representing, to not be able to exist. And there's 100 different ways we can approach that. And I think we, as Democrats, independents, anyone who cares about their constituents, we need to do them all. And there's no reason not to. We have the ability, we have the means. We just need to win enough people in office and start passing bills.
That's it.
Okay.
And we're going to have a little bit of a problem while Trump's still in office. Angela won't, because she's actually got someone hopefully in office once Waltz is out. I don't know who's going to get elected, but hopefully it'll be a decent Democratic candidate. And you can actually, and you can see Minnesota's laws are way different than a lot of the surrounding states because they've had a Democratic majority there for a while. Wisconsin is headed that direction. You will see a great difference in Wisconsin from before we win the trifecta of Assembly, Senate, and governor's office there's such a huge difference when you actually have a functioning government that wants to help the people in that state. And I want to help the people everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Scoops, I was talking too long.
No, that's okay.
I really, she's right. I was talking too long. Let someone else talk.
All right, Ange, let's go to you. You're running for a state office,
Yep.
but you're facing a change of governor and maybe even a change of senator if one of your senators decides to run for governor.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what do you think should be the priority of the Democratic Party in your state?
Mm-hmm. I think, Mike, you kind of hit the nail on the head where our hands are a little tied while Trump is in office still. And I really believe that in order for us to make any changes, we need to have people get elected to office. I don't know that we're paying enough attention right now in the immediacy around voting rights and gerrymandering that we know is happening. It is happening in the background. And if we all of a sudden come up to the election and it doesn't turn the way that we wanted to or the way I wanted to, all of these other things that need to be worked on actually won't be. We have got to get people elected into office that can make some significant changes and can work together and can have a high functioning government and work on all the things at the same time. But, if you would have asked me this question a few weeks ago, I think I would have had a totally different answer. But life in Minnesota has changed so drastically in 2 weeks that, I just am seeing the world a little differently. We had empty businesses before and people struggling with affordability crisis. And now there's even more. Because now businesses are closing because people don't feel safe enough to go there, or they don't have employers and they don't have people working and staffing. So it's gotten so drastically worse here in this 2 week time period with this influx of the federal government, that the way that I see out of this is to make it so we tie Trump's hands by taking over the majority after the midterm elections. So we can actually, even if we can't make positive change, at least we can stop the losses and we can stop really the crumbling of what we've built so far. And you're right, Mike, Minnesota is an amazing state. I believe that. And we are going to have some big changes. The governor announcing that he's not going to run again came with mixed emotions. He definitely has a target on his back right now from the president. And, prior to all of this ICE activity, the main story 2 weeks ago was fraud in Minnesota. That's not even part of the conversation anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I think there are some rumors floating that Amy Klobuchar might run for governor. People are really excited about that. We already had Tina Smith retiring, so there is Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan that are running for that seat. So I do think that there could be a lot of movement in Minnesota in terms of who are stepping up into those elected offices. A lot of the Republican governor candidates have been very outspoken and supportive of ICE actions in Minnesota. And people are, I don't see that going well for them because people are it is ruining people's lives in Minnesota right now. So I'm really hopeful for the Democratic Party as we continue, but we really need to focus on getting more people into office that can use actual power to put a stop to this. Because otherwise we're just going to see this deterioration continue. Unfortunately.
And I agree with all of you about the change in leadership. We do need a change from the top to the cabinet to the whole thing, right? If we had more Democrats in office, it would make a difference. If we had, more apples on trees, we could make more pies, honestly. There has to be a change, not just if we had a different president, things would be different. You have to convince the people who continue to vote for this person to be president, and then vote for the representatives and the senators who fall in line with the ideologies of this person. Mm-hmm. It's not just about, if I vote different. No, the ideology is still going to be there. Mm-hmm. So say the next, 2028, they vote for whoever the Democrat is, right? They're unhappy with that person. They go, I'm going back to Republican then, and I'm going to vote for the Republican. The ideology is still there. They're still thinking like a MAGA. They're still thinking like a Republican. And I'm not here to disparage anybody, but if you're going to get people on the side of we need improved healthcare system, we need improved immigration enforcement, we need more affordability, we need more jobs, you're going to have to change the minds about their ideologies, about what they believe is most important for America at this particular time. And I'm listening to all of you talk, and I really appreciate all of the input. I'm reading a book called The Coroner's Silence, and it's about the impact of people unaliving in police custody and what that says about the American healthcare system in general. And one of the points that the author makes is that a republic that does not focus on the well-being and health of its citizens is essentially a republic that's going to pass away. And so what we're seeing is we're dealing with all of this immigration stuff, but recently 1.4 million people dropped their health insurance plan through the ACA because they could no longer afford it. So that's at least 1.4 million people now who have no health insurance whatsoever. And the candidate we spoke to yesterday on our town hall, he doesn't have health insurance. His wife has health insurance through her employer, and his children have Medicaid. So if anything happens to him, who knows what's going to happen to his family because of that. So we're dealing with people who flat out are going without health insurance, who are going to, I don't want to say suffer, but they might be suffering soon. And the more suffering we see and the unhealthiness of this nation, it can't stand the way that we are right now. It can't stand that way. It's not going to hold up if the people are not healthy. And so my answer to my own question would be health care affordability, 100%. You got to get the people healthy if you want them to work, if you want them to build the houses that you want the people to live in, if you want them to spend the money to go on the vacations that you want them to take to put the money in the economy. It has to be healthcare. It has to be. And so I want to hear from all of you, especially Kyah, because you're new here. Kyah, what do you all think should be the healthcare goals, policy goals of the legislative branch going into 2027? Even 2026, but going into the next year when everyone is sworn in, hopefully.
I think.
Introduce yourself first, though, Kyah.
Well, yeah, I'm Kyah Creekmore. I'm running in North Carolina's 5th congressional district. We're running against Virginia Fox, 20-year incumbent, 82-year-old wicked witch of the West of North Carolina. Anyways, back to the question. I hope that was a firm enough introduction.
Yes.
I think we need to be focused on universal health care. I think that very clearly we've seen what happened to the country freaking out because our elected officials can't do its one job and just allocate the funding for people to get healthcare at affordable rates. And they use our healthcare, our livelihoods, as cudgels for political gain. Them trying to take away something to then give us something worse. I think that shouldn't be something we have to think about anymore. Our elected officials need to get on the same page and make it happen. The same way we focus on Israel and give them as much as they want, another 3.3 billion, we can very easily agree on that. We need to be able to agree on universal healthcare. We should be trying to expand and reopen hospitals instead of letting them close. We shouldn't be just like letting so many like huge problems continue to happen. It doesn't make any sense how we're still arguing whether or not people should have the right to, have a doctor. I don't have a doctor. In all 24 of my years, I've been to the hospital a handful of times, and it was always for family members, never myself. I don't know how the whole thing works. I couldn't afford it if I wanted to. And I don't think that we should have that situation. Me as a young person, I'm blessed to have good health, but at any point that could change and my life could spiral as a result. And I don't want anyone to be put in that predicament. So that's what we should be focusing on. I don't know if that was a great
Yeah,
enough
that's
answer.
good. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Kyah. Anthony, go ahead.
Yeah, the question, the number one priority, it has to tackle all three of housing, livable wages, healthcare, and universal education. And once again, we have most of the revenue to do this now. We're taking about revenue for the United States is about $4.2 trillion. We're already spending about 1.9 trillion on covering uninsured. So universal health care would be about 4 trillion. We're halfway there now. We are halfway there now forcefully, not by any legislative actions beneficial to people in Congress for the most part. So we need to get that as well. These side issues, someone working at Menards or Winn-Dixie or a server at Chili's, what they care about is how much they have in their paycheck. Are they going to be able to afford rent, a car repair bill? Is that going to put them late on their rent, groceries, and car insurance? The immigration, the foreign policy, Venezuela, those are side rail issues. What they want here now are real life, real policy positions. And if 535 members of Congress are incapable or genuinely do not want to do that for the nation, then I want it for the district, and that'll cost $2 billion. And that's what I'm asking for every single year I'm in turn for my district, for these people.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. And Sal, what do you think?
I agree with everyone's sentiment generally. Healthcare is a human right. It always has been. So is housing. But if there was one thing I had to focus on, I would say, well, it'd have to be two-pronged approach as a beginning of my tenure. It would definitely be removing AIPAC from our politics completely. Any pro-Israel lobby needs to go. Like we all know, these people are completely bought. They're bound to these donors. They're unable to speak up half the time on their own social media platforms because they're scared they're not going to get that donation to fund their reelection. They do not care about their seat. They think they're entitled to it. So we really need to stop that feeling of I'm entitled to this seat. This is a glide path incumbency. I can just rely on the voters that were there last year and a handful extra if I do one town hall this cycle. So we really need to get rid of that process of, pro-Israel lobby or just any lobbyist buying our politician. They prioritize the needs of the donor or the lobby. That has completely destroyed our politics, and that's why we're here today. And then just my approach to healthcare is Medicare for all. That means no premiums, no networks, no copays. That includes mental health, dental, and vision. That relieves small businesses from employer-based insurance rates. That frees up a lot of money for people in their paycheck. They don't have to pay every week for something they don't know if they're going to use. Listen, Israel has universal health care and a lot of weapons because of our taxpayer dollars. If they can have all that, we can have universal health care and peace in this country. So that's my approach to the start of what I would do as soon as I'm into Congress.
All right. So you all have, you obviously have things you won't compromise on, and that's good. That's good as a political leader to have something that you're 10 toes down on. But how do you compromise? How do you distinguish compromise from selling out, right? Like I said before, you're going to have to get some people on your side in order to get a bill passed, in order to get votes, in order to win an election. You're going to have to convince some independents or even some Republicans to come over to your side. You might have to give some concessions. You might have to put your name on a bill that maybe you would, before you got into office, you didn't see yourself doing. How do you distinguish compromise from selling out? And I'll let, go ahead, Ashley.
So when it comes to the people, that's always the top priority. It's what the people want. And so our goal is to, as Congress and Senate, we're supposed to also educate the people. District 2, if I'm picked, I will definitely keep them in the loop of what's going on. And we will and we together, because it's a togetherness,
Mhm.
we will come to what we think will be needed. And then when I come into Washington, if I win my bid, I will present them with what District 2 wants. If we have to compromise, it's for the people. Being an independent does not take away the goal for the people. I'm going to take away the party names and I'm going to put I'm for the people. Ashley Banks work for you means that I work for the people, not just my district. So if the majority is saying do it, then I will have to sit and say, okay, how I would look and do my homework. How will this benefit District 2? And I will tell District 2 that, because we're supposed to educate, right? The problem that I'm seeing is we're creating laws and we're asking the people to abide by them and they know nothing about them. We're putting in stuff into play and people are getting locked up for stuff they don't know about, laws that they were not updated on. So my goal is to always stay in an open mind, an optimistic mind, and not be pessimistic about the goal for the people in whole. That's my question. That's my answer.
All right, I appreciate that. Kyah, go ahead.
Could you
Did you
repeat
hear the
the
question?
thing one more time? One more time.
How do you distinguish compromise from selling out?
Okay, so selling out is when you see clear as day poison pills, because I've learned that a lot of these guys, especially their corporate bot, they like to inject little pieces into your bills that has nothing to do with anything to get it to, do certain things for certain people or corporations that aren't good for anybody except those guys, right? Um, we have to shine a light on it. How many of our politicians actually even talk about the fact that they do that? How many people are actually spotlighting these things? Number one, we have to be focused on spotlighting and like shining a light on these cockroaches, because honestly, a lot of these guys that are in there, they are like roaches. They don't actually do anything except extract from us, the American people. They did whatever they did, got their donations, got the office, running unopposed, and they're just doing whatever they want to benefit themselves in the re-election. We have to start shining lights on that and, help them learn how to do their job more correctly, or at least do it less bad. Like, don't add the nonsense. Number two, there has to be certain things, like you was saying before, stuff we just don't compromise on at all. Like, there's just a line that we will not cross. If it's going to hurt the American people in some way, we have to stand 10 toes on that. I feel like we compromise people's human rights. It's like, oh, well, I guess you can take away like marriage equality so that I can get some extra funding for a school. It's like, that doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be compromising people's human rights in any capacity. Their right to have good health, their right to have a good school, their right to marry another consenting adult, their right to have an abortion if medically necessary, or if you can't afford it because no one's going to pay for your damn child except you. The state's going to mandate you go ahead and take care of that child. We got to just know that there's a point. As long as it's doing all the right things in these bills without having to compromise anything that's going to hurt someone else for someone else's political gain, I think that we'll have to take the wins where we get them. But it can't be incremental either. I don't want incremental nothing. If it benefits everybody, great. If it's going to push us forward, great. But if it's only going to move the goalpost this much, it's only going to affect a slight group, it's when we see a lot of problems. When you see like DEI and I forget what the other thing is, to help kids get into schools and get brought into the
Affirmative
pool.
action.
I thought it was that, but I didn't want to be wrong. When we look at those programs, who are the people that are always attacking it, even though they benefit from it, right? So when we are creating programs that only benefit a few people, often you see a lot of pushback. So we have to be a lot more wide-eyed about our current situation. How do we get more people, more money in their pocket, more freedom to do as they please and as they need, and have the resources, opportunities necessary? If legislation is doing what we needed to do, I don't think people would have as much issues with compromise. But oftentimes the compromise is at someone else's peril. So Yeah, like I said, shining a light and then standing 10 toes for everything that doesn't hurt other people.
All
I think
right.
that was the whole summary.
Can I
Okay.
share?
Thank you. Who was that?
That was Joy.
Oh, Joy. Yes, go ahead.
So one thing that I have done in my entire career, 16 years in anti-trafficking and safety, has been to bring unlikely groups of people together to trying to align on a specific thing. And so I did that with, for instance, the adult industry and churches, totally feeling like they're opposite sides of the spectrum, but we came together to provide resources and support for people that were experiencing trafficking or were marginalized and needed resources. And so for me, one thing that I think is pivotal for all of us, going into Congress. First of all, I think there's a new generation of leaders running right now that as many of us that get into Congress as possible can coalesce together to get things like healthcare for all done, to get things like housing, prices lowered and so many other things that we all are so passionate about. But we do have to reach across the aisle. And we're starting to see some people on the Republican side that are really unhappy with what's going on, and they're ready. Look at the Tom Massey and Ro Khanna bill. That was just the Epstein files, right? So I do think that it's important for us to stay 10 toes down on our issues, but also to reach across the aisle to say, we might not agree on 9 things, but can we agree on the 10th? Can we agree that our American people deserve housing? Can we agree that the American people deserve health care? Can we agree that women should be safer and that we should be, coming against perpetrators with the Epstein files, right? So I think that's something that I'm really passionate about, is trying to bring unlikely people together to really get things done for the American people, and something that I've seen work in my 16-year career that, people were like, I'm sorry, you have who coming together for what? But what I saw truly is in the massive events that we would do, I literally had a trans person and a sex worker who were doing yoga in the same room as a woman who was so passionate about anti-abortion that she was arrested in her early days for picketing abortion clinics. And those 3 people worked together in a room because they could align on the fact that people deserve resources and support. And they cared for folks for our entire event for an entire week. So I've seen it happen. But the thing is, we have to come on a human to human level. And everyone wants that they just see it in a different way. So I truly believe we can get a lot done. And I think what we're seeing right now is a lot of our congressional candidates, a lot of our senators, at least in Nevada, are selling out and are making compromises that are harming the American people. But we can come together and create progress that helps the American people without selling out. And I truly believe it's possible.
Okay. Mike, go ahead.
I have watched people talk about, oh, why, what do you think you're going to have to compromise? And I think the times that Democrats have most famously compromised are the times when the average American is the most unhappy with them. And let's think about what that means. That means that whatever they did, be it holding the line on the government shutdown because there was no deal on people's health benefits getting extended, or anything really. Every single time, it's when we compromised that people were upset. That means the average person, including Democrats, but also some Republicans, did not want us to do that. So on average, Democratic priorities are the ones people want. And it's when we start thinking, oh, we can't do this, and because it might look bad if we fail to get a bill passed, therefore we're going to compromise on something. And I'm going to say, no, you go in with an idea. And I'm not saying no compromise at any time, but there are certain things you cannot compromise on. When it is injurious to your constituents in a major way, that is something you cannot compromise on. That you just can't. You have to be willing to stand up and say, this is not something I'm going to be willing to compromise on ever. And you shouldn't have to. And one of the reasons why Democrats have had to for years is because we've never really had that big of a majority. I don't think that's going to be an issue in the very near future. And the reason I don't think that's going to be an issue in the very near future is people have gotten a taste of what it's like to live under a Republican rule that actually is a majority. They are actually in control of every facet of government. And it isn't fun for most people. They are not prosperous under this rule. If you're really, really rich, it's great. But everyone else, not so great. And so we are starting to see people in a very major way migrate away from that. And I think it's going to show up in the midterms, and I think it's going to show up in the presidential election. I think we're going to have such a swing back that we can actually make some progress as a country. I think you're starting to see that in the states. Wisconsin, you're going to see that in a very major way coming up, where I think we will actually have, okay, this is what we're going to do now, and actually have some real substantive change. Not just, oh, this is what we were able to get through Congress, but something that actually affects our constituents' lives. I think there are so many things we need to address. And it's not, oh, I had to compromise on this. Did we actually put in the work to get enough other people around us that we had a legislative mandate, that we had the ability to do the things we need to do? Because they're not unhappy with us when we do what we go into Congress saying we're going to do. Democrat or Republican, I have very few people who are like, no, boo, universal health care, that's horrible. I don't get a lot of that. Once in a very, great while, but the vast majority of people across the board, they're like, yeah, not, going bankrupt for my health care sounds like a pretty good plan.
Well, and to that, I would say that on the other side, you definitely had politicians who convinced people essentially that it's against their freedom to have universal health care, because I don't want to pay for health care for illegals, or I don't want to pay for health care for people who are just going to be sitting on their butt doing nothing. I don't want to pay for this. I don't want to pay for that. I don't want to help this. I don't want to help that. It's a bunch of, I should be able to keep my doctor if I want my doctor. And if I don't want health insurance, why are you making me get health insurance? And so it's a lot of those kinds of things where you're having to convince people that even if it only benefits 100 million Americans and it doesn't benefit the other 200 million Americans, it's still good for everyone, right?
And what I tell people across the board on that is, every time they tell you, oh, if you get this, then you'll be helping that person. No. What you have to realize is every time they're trying to point you away, be it school funding being mostly funded by property taxes, it used to be mostly funded by income taxes, which means that now, instead of the very, very rich paying a lot more towards that school funding, now it is on the average homeowner. People are desperately asking for property tax relief in Wisconsin, and they don't realize that the reason why they are taxed at such a high rate on their property taxes is because school funding has been getting pushed and pushed onto that, because of that very attitude that if we pay for anyone else other than us, that means that it's going to be more on us. And that's not how it works. It's just like any other insurance policy. The more people you have, the lower the rate, which means the more people you have, the less it's going to cost you. So it's all about benefiting the individual person. Yeah, it benefits everyone else, but that's the whole point. It benefits everyone, including you.
Okay, so let me ask you this. We're seeing right now a lot of, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my microphone. I didn't even know it wasn't on. Maybe, am I that loud? I'm just that loud. I thought it was the microphone. Anyway, we're seeing, unfortunately, an unrestrained president, right? I mean, he's pretty much been allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. And the only thing stopping him have been these lower courts. Even the Supreme Court is unwilling to stop him. He's going into the states. He's going into Minnesota. He's coming into Ohio, where I'm at. He's sending National Guard. He's sending ICE. He's, telling his the secretaries of various agencies, suspend the payments for daycares, suspend the SNAP benefits, do this, do that. And there's some court that has to come in and say, hey, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. That's an overreach. To what extent do any of you think the president should be held to the law?
I could start with this one if you want. So I'm with a coalition called the Courage Candidates for Impeachment, and there are a group of us candidates across the country. Eric, I believe, is in the chat too right now. Vance, Karen Ortiz, a bunch of us. The president needs to be impeached, convicted, and removed expeditiously. He has broken the law with impunity over and over again, and this is all given to him on a silver platter by the Supreme Court. The MAGA extremist majority has given him basically yielding power to do whatever he wants to any country, America itself. Like you said, send the military in to attack our own citizens. So Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, they need to be impeached. Stephen Miller needs to be removed. The Heritage Foundation, which is basically just a proxy for a Nazi organization, is literally running our government right now. So we're really trying to hammer it to the voters that if you truly want change, if you want me to run in there, impeach these people, get us Medicare for all, lower interest rates for small businesses, invest in education, we need to get these incumbents out, like mine, who's been in there since the late 1990s. He's in his 70s now, approaching 80. He gets $1 million from AIPAC. He prioritizes the foreign affairs. They get what they want. The community continues to deteriorate. So we just really, I hope the voters know, and I really want to take this chance to let you guys know, you have to get out there. Even if you don't do politics, you've never been political, this year you need to get involved. I don't like putting my politics on people, but I can't stress enough that we are not going to be able to do this unless we all have this same unified approach to this, which is overrun the polls, overrun the volunteering, field canvassing, get involved any way you can. We're funding these grassroots campaigns with our own money. I don't know about you guys, but I'm putting my own paycheck into this stuff, ordering t-shirts, hats, whistles for my community, posters. It is really difficult. So the voter is the most important part of this piece. And if we truly get people to understand how powerful they are and what we can do this year, I believe the midterms could be a huge change for us. Like you guys were saying, this could be a swing back to blue. And I believe that if we get the correct people in, we can make the advancements we want. We can reform this society into something that benefits the working class again, make billionaires pay their fair share. We're not even investing in cancer research right now. Like, what are we doing? So that's just my message for the people.
Ashley, you said you had some thoughts on Joy. You had some thoughts on impeachment, Ashley.
I just wanted to touch on paying for my campaign myself. I am not against donations, you guys. I encourage donating to the candidates, but you guys know I'm not taking no endorsements or no donations. So with that said, I have publicly on my Congresswoman Kelly's page, who seat I am running for, I have publicly on other pages said I want him impeached as the candidate. I have stood openly and said this because I want you guys to understand something. When we're going into Washington, we are working for the people. Okay, we want to make sure the people are taken care of. When we start saying, oh, that's my candidate, we're taking away from the 342 million people that are in America. If your candidate was a good candidate, I'm sure we would love for them to stay. So it would take away from the damage that's being done. But each of us, I can't speak for you guys, but I'm saying for myself, I do not want to see people without health care. I do not want to see people on the street screaming, saying, not my son, not me. And so, therefore, with that being said, I am not attacking your choice. I am attacking the fact that we are not able to live in peace. I am not against any candidate who's doing for the people, because I work for the people. That's why my website is Ashley Banks Works for You, because that is the goal. The goal is not to go against Trump. The goal is not to go against Mike or Sal or no one here. The goal is for it to make sure you guys, when you go to work, you say, Ashley got it. She made sure my taxes was where it's supposed to be. But we can't do that if you keep fighting us, and we're trying to help you so you won't have to go through these horrible scenes and this craziness that's going on with your checks. Which, listen, real quick, look, these glasses, okay, they need a leg. Imagine me not having health care, and I didn't. For a while, I was unable to get glasses, and I'm a candidate, but that got straightened. My purpose in saying that is, even if you don't need these things now, we never know when we are. So please, for those who really want to help you guys, why are you fighting us? Are you fighting us to have bad conditions or good conditions? And I'm done, because I don't want to overtalk.
And okay, so let's talk about it. How do you keep money out of elections, out of politics, without hurting your own campaign? And I'll ask I'll ask Ange. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I did a ton of door knocking this last summer, and term limits has come up countless times from people who I think are really seeing now what happens when there is not term limits. And that would be our Supreme Court can be purchased, and, people running for Senate in the House. You can have extended times. We've all talked, we're running against these really long-term incumbents. And so, I'm just listening to us talk about, well, most people probably want their community healthy, but they're not going to actually vote for a public healthcare option or universal healthcare if it means they might not get reelected. Right. And so it all comes back to that. Like, I'm actually really excited here in Minnesota to see what the governor will do in this next session, knowing he's not running for reelection. I think we see a lot of power in what can happen. And then people are starting to work together because they are representing their constituents in a way that is powerful and has the core values that we're looking for when you're not worried about that next step. So I saw a few people had put in the comment like, gosh, why aren't we talking more about term limits? And the reality is it doesn't get talked about because people would be limiting their own scope, their own job to make a law that has that. But in what's best for our country, it's probably something we really need to look a lot at.
And the other thing is that people can't really agree on how many terms it takes for a candidate to achieve their legislative goals. Is it just a couple of terms in the House of Representatives, which, we know it's 2 years? Is 2 years enough? Is 4 years enough? Is 6 years in the Senate enough? Is 20 years in the Supreme Court enough? We don't know what is enough, but people agree that someone who was in their 80s or 70s should probably, be fishing. Be done. Yeah, you should be done. It shouldn't be that there's a representative from Virginia who's been in there since 1993. That's an incredibly long time.
We're putting more resources into keeping Mitch McConnell standing on 2 legs than we are right now into our communities.
And my view of that is they want to hold on to the power because they want their party to have that advantage in their particular state, in their particular office, without considering whether they should move on and allow some younger people, younger candidates, fresher ideas, people who are closer to what the next generation of voters might be looking at. They would rather hold on to the power. And it can't be power over people. It can't be party over people. It can't be politics over people. Like Ashley said, she's a candidate for the people. It has to be about the people. We're not seeing that. We hear it a lot. We hear it, but we're not seeing it. We're not seeing it. And Anthony, what do you think about that? We actually have, I don't know why there was someone in the chat that said they wanted to debate you, but we don't debate here. But
it's a counterfeit that's not really the incumbent. He's 78 years old. He doesn't know how to operate TikTok.
Okay. Well, what do you think about that?
He comes into he trolls me, and I guess that's a flex. I have groupies now. No. So go back. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Well, my question initially was, how do you keep money out of politics without jeopardizing your campaign? There has to be some money. There has to be some money to help you, like Sal said, buy the whistles and the T-shirts, and you need a billboard, and you need street signs and yard signs and mailers, and you can't just write your name on a piece of paper and say Mike for Prez and then hand it out to people at the grocery store.
We've run a campaign before, pre-social media. Dating myself a little bit. So anyways, that was back in the late 90s. Before social media is a complete game changer, and I think that's one of the reasons why the government doesn't like apps, because it's a huge reach for grassroots candidates to get free airtime. You can use social media because it's not just one platform. There are several different platforms you could saturate with your message and your policy positions in lieu of TV airtime. Today, you can do that in 2026. And they hate that the gatekeeping, or I would almost say both parties do not like that, because they don't want any of us to get into office and make that change, because change will only happen if all of us get in there. We've seen in my whole entire lifetime, things have gotten more expensive and more inconvenient, and it's hurt the people at the bottom. Like one of the other candidates had said here, things are great if you're rich. If you're wealthy, things couldn't be better. But most of the 340 million people in our nation don't live like that. The majority live, I think it's 30 to 40% live paycheck to paycheck. It might be higher. That's a huge population. Then you add to that in the last election and prior elections, you saw about 30% of the people, eligible voters, chose to sit it out because they feel abandoned now at this point by both sides. That's your red flag. That's your landslide, a huge call out, if you will. Things need to change, and we have to win, those of us that are in primaries. If you are unsuccessful, nothing will change. Keeping money out of politics, back to the question I went off a little bit. Money out of politics, that could be changed. Those are, and I would like to put in term limits as well, because those are Supreme Court decisions. As a temporary workaround, if they were genuinely concerned about it, both the DNC and RNC could put into their bylaws as official parties, because parties are private corporations, everything you hear people screaming out against. Private political parties can write their own bylaws and say, if you want to run with a D next to your name, or an R next to your name, it don't matter, then you are not going to accept PAC money, and you will limit yourself to 2 terms or 3 terms, whatever they decide. Through a bylaw, through an email today. They could do that today. Have they? Absolutely not, because corporations and parties and the government have been crystal clear. They will not budge unless it's legislated on universal health care, universal education, livable wages, and affordable housing. Otherwise, that would have happened. None of us here are young. All of us here are adults. Within our entire lifetime, we would have seen something like that happen already. That's just where we stand. So what we're doing to keep money out of politics now, we're going with, there's about half a dozen of us, and this just started with open source candidates. We are going to raise, if we do raise funds, we're going to stay below the $5,000 threshold filing with the Federal Election Commission. And we are going as zero donor candidates. We don't need money. We need votes is what we need. We need, when it all comes down, I think Mike was there, the voter is the core priority here. We need votes.
I mean, Anthony, some might disagree with you. You do need money. You need money. You need some money. You don't need $60 billion, but you need some money.
We spent about, like you said, t-shirts, stickers.
Well, but it's also ad time, right? You could do as much as you possibly can on social media, but you also have to reach people. If you want to reach voters, you got to reach them where they are. Some are watching TV. How much does a TV ad cost? Some are listening to, radio still. How much does a radio ad cost? Some are reading the newspaper. How much does a newspaper ad cost? Some are, maybe and I know I made a joke about it before, but you could actually stand outside of a Walmart or a Target, and you could hand people a piece of something, a postcard looking thing that has your name and your face and what your platform is, and et cetera, that costs money. You need, right, Mike? You need money for something, but the cost is sometimes so prohibitive that it only allows for people who have private funding, or who have, they got from their grandparents, they got $20 million from their grandparents. People like that, it's sometimes it makes it impossible for the average person to successfully win an office. But we've seen it happen. It can happen, but it just seems like if you completely remove money from the equation, then you're hitting yourself in the foot with a hammer, for lack of just.
If I can give one idea, I don't know if other states have this, honestly, but in Minnesota, we have a political contribution refund where individuals get reimbursed up to $75, couples can be reimbursed up to $150. And it is an effort to keep funds more localized to your community, so the everyday person can contribute to your campaign without hurting their own financial stability, and in hopes that it can, bring communities together. There's really strict rules on how much money you can take from other outside agencies, PACs, lobbyists, things like that. And I don't know if other states have that. I'm part of that. It's called the PCR program. I'm from very minimal means, I will say, as is the community in which I would represent. And so this has been a powerful tool for me. And I know I'm at the state, state level, state Senate. I'm at 35,000, and I've had over 300 donors because of this program. So I'd be curious. I don't know if other places have.
Ohio does have something like that. When you do your tax return, you can donate. I think it's something like $6 or something. It's some very limited amount that you can donate, but they do offer that. Kyah, I know you just recently got into the race. How is your fundraising going?
I'll be honest, it hasn't been the sole focus, so I haven't fundraised that much, but I've been coming up with some really unique ways of fundraising, like we could be holding like basketball tournament or some kind of like gaming stream or something. There's so many different ways, like you were saying, we have to reach people where they are. Well, some of those people are also on TikTok, so that's great that we're here. Some of those people, all they do is be on their phone. So text them, hit them. All kids do is watch video games online, on YouTube, whatever, gaming streams. Some kids, all they do is play basketball. So meeting people where they're at is something I'm trying to be a lot more creative about. Fundraising in ways that's actually also helping our community. Part of those basketball fundraisers or whatever that I end up going with, we're going to also pair our fundraising with local programs like a veterans care program, after school programs, different things like that, like directly injecting that money into a good cause and also into a good candidate, because you should have your money going towards the right things. Your money should be, helping out your community. I think back to your question, I want to make it very clear. The only reason why we have to raise so much money, like in every other race, local, from the municipals all the way up to the state, you probably only have to raise around like 50,000 max. Let's be real. Let's be really real about that. Because of how many people you're actually representing in those districts, it's so much smaller. When we're talking about congressional districts, it's upwards to millions. Like mine, I believe, has around 700,000. 700,000 people for one candidate to represent is absolutely outrageous. We have not had a reform to this in a long time. We should have a lot more representatives. We should not have a Senate at all. We just have a lot more representatives, period, point blank, so that each candidate does not have to raise as much money and does not have to represent as many people, because that makes it extraordinarily difficult to reach the needs of every person. It spreads you so far thin in a lot of places, especially when they're gerrymandering. Like my district, it has 10 whole counties. 10 counties is astronomically high for a traditional congressional campaign or congressional district. But that's the realities people are dealing with. So we have to be very clear about that issue as this and be looking to create some kind of reforms. Talking about your government refunding for political donations, I think that's great. I wanted to do some kind of election reform. So that it's all publicly funded. Like there would be, for each level, you get like $25 as a constituent to send to whatever candidate on each level. And so that it incentivizes you reaching more people instead of getting more money from less people. If you want to get the publicly funded dollars, you could go ahead and get those publicly funded dollars from every single person in your district, and you're going to have a lot more than those few thousand max dollar donors that you can find, and you're going to have more support from the people in your district. You're going to have so much more to work with because you're actually focused on the people. We have to change the incentives, what people are using the money for. I feel like every campaign just constantly, like you were saying, or seeming to suggest that you should use it on ads. I don't think we should use it on ads at all. I think we should be using it and injecting that money straight back into the community. That's where you're going to meet people and impact people. People are not going to, they're going to maybe remember your face or your name from that ad, but when you are actually doing things that impact the community, they're going to remember how you made them feel. And that's ultimately what you need. You need people to feel good about you. And a lot of people do it for political gain instead of just doing it because they want to do it. I think it would be so awesome being able to have the facilities and the fundraising to go ahead and hold so much cool stuff with the kids that are around. Like they actually get to meet their future representative and get to play basketball with them or hang out and just talk about some cool stuff and like actually be like feel a part. We have to, like I was saying, change the whole incentive. And then number 3 is having agency over our own funds, not taking corporate PAC money, not taking APAC money, anything that's not raised directly from your constituents or other constituents around the country, because honestly, as a U.S. representative, you also represent the rest of the nation. As long as it's small dollar or just individuals donating to you, I think that would make sure that the incentive in the way our money is being used, it would start going a lot. It will be used a lot more efficiently. It would be used for the right reasons. And I would see a lot less issues with how our fundraising is if we just had a lot more pathways for normal people to contribute and be a part of these campaigns. The incentive is just to win, get your name in front of everybody, but it's never how do we make sure that this money is actually benefiting the community that raised it with you.
Okay, Kyah, I love that response. I really do. One of the issues we have found, though, in just talking to voters is that a lot of them don't really care about your good character or, being a good person and how you make them feel. Republicans run on grievance and fear.
Mm-hmm.
They are notoriously bad at governing. Democrats are the ones who are seen as the good governance. Republicans run on, this is why you should be mad. This is why you should be afraid. And I'm going to make you feel not afraid. I'm going to get rid of the thing that's making you afraid. I'm going to get rid of the thing that is holding you back. And that's usually immigrants and Democrats. They literally will make an enemy of all of you people on this panel and say, you're the reason why their voters cannot achieve, don't have money in their bank accounts, why so many people are on welfare, et cetera, et cetera. They turn to grievances. They're not, I love that community aspect of it. I love it as a Democrat. That makes sense to me. That may not make sense to a Republican voter because they're thinking, what about their pockets? What about their pockets? What about their pockets? What about their pockets? And what about these people I'm being told that are taking money out of my pocket, right? And so you're going to have, I love your energy, but you're going to have to consider that maybe you got to do just a little bit something else to bring some more people from the other side onto your team. There's nothing, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with what you're doing with your approach at all, but Republicans don't give a crap. They don't. They don't. They do not. And I know in order to win any race in the United States as a Democrat, you have to get some of them on your side. You just do.
Don't you think talking about the fact that it isn't really right versus left right now, it's really the working class against the billionaires?
That's honestly, it is the working class against the billionaires, but the working class also feels like the Democratic Party has left them behind. Right? J.D. Vance spoke to the unsung hillbilly in some people. They looked at him and they thought, wow, I see myself in him. I want him to be my vice president and maybe my president someday. When really, if they look at the person's policies, their ideologies, that man is not for them at all. But like Kyah said, he made them feel like they were important. Even though in the end, what we see what's happening with the policies that he's pushing, but he made them feel good.
That's why Trump and Mamdani both got votes from the same people. 1 in 10 voters in New York that voted for Mamdani are Trump supporters because both of them committed to affordability for actually being able to afford their life.
And when you get into office, you have to be able to show and prove.
Absolutely.
Like Mamdani was sworn in on January 1st. People are already like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? Your promises, fulfill them right now. It's been 20 days. Come on, what are you doing? And people are they've really got their eyes on him. We don't want to see any more talk from people about affordability. We want to see it. And it seems like, okay, you got to have a little bit of patience, but we've run out of patience because we were promised this in 2024. We were promised this in 2020. We were promised this in 2016. And my goodness, when are we going to get it already? And Mike, we haven't heard from you in a minute. So what do you think?
I think there's 2 points, money in politics. It's both what we do as candidates and what we want to change structurally about America. You can trace almost all of the push towards making laws specifically for billionaires and for no one else to Citizens United. That was when they let loose the flood of money into politics. And right now, I know people are looking to run candidacies with no money at all. That's next to impossible in some districts. My district, it's over 3 hours across. Like I was 8 hours in a car over the last 2 days to make town halls. So I can't just not have money when half of what I'm doing is driving somewhere. Half of what I'm doing is handing out little flyers that for about 2,000 of them costs almost $1,000. I mean, you can't do the mechanics of politics without some base level of funds. And unfortunately, most states don't have really functioning state governments like Angela's does. Is it Angie or Angela? I can't see over here.
It's Ange. It's okay.
Ange. Okay. I like her state has a remarkably progressive state government. They actually made some policies that made it easier for grassroots candidates like all of us are to exist and function. Those don't exist in most other states. I don't have any method of public funding I can apply for. I'm either doing this out of my own pocket or out of grassroots donors. Now, on what we can do as candidates, I'm not accepting any corporate PAC funds, no APAC, none of that. A PAC in and of itself is just a group of people who wanted to donate. They have the same limits as ordinary people. So I'm going to be taking PAC money from my union and any other union because they agree with the policies I'm publicly stating that I'm going to put forward. Yeah, I'm going to pass the PRO Act when I get into office. That is going to be one of my highest priorities because it's good for everybody. If a group was a PAC supporting universal health care, yeah, I'd take their money because I'm already doing that. I think it is important that you are able to say, I know where all my money is coming from, and they are for the things that I'm already saying I'm doing. And most corporate money isn't going to be for anything other than the equivalent of a bribe. I mean, that's what it is. They give you money so that you do things that aren't necessarily going to benefit anybody but them. And that's wholly different than a PAC that is people, not corporations.
Yeah.
That's where I don't think the whole corporate money became speech, or money became speech, and corporations became people. That's where you have to draw the line and say no. And I don't know how APAC is even allowed to donate money, considering we're not allowed to take money from people from out of this country. Like, I don't understand how that even exists. Wouldn't that technically be taking money from people who do not live in this country?
Well, no, it's coming from Americans who are supporters of or friends of that particular country. So it's not coming from the country itself. It's coming from the people who are
That was a little bit
That's just
facetious,
another
I
way.
suppose.
That's just another way to get the
Did
money
that just
here.
go over my head?
That was,
fine.
I suppose that was a little bit facetious, but no, I don't think that right now as candidates, we have to be able to say to our voters that what we're doing, what we're saying we're going to do, is what we're going to do when we get into office. That is the entire reason why money in politics is a problem, is because people look at corporate donations as basically bribes. Because
they are.
What else are they?
Yeah.
And we're all going to have to deal with that morally in our elections. We're going to have to say to our voters, no, I'm not taking corporate PAC money. I'm not taking APAC money. And if a group of people give me money, they're going to know that it's for something I'm stating I'm already doing. So I think probably some of my bigger supporters in terms of money are going to be unions, because I'm a 17-year member of IBEW. So yeah, they're probably going to donate to me. But I can tell you right now, yes, I will support unions, because that is something I was going to do anyway. And if they want to give me money to do it, yay. But
Well,
I will say I just want to say one thing, and then I'm actually going to have to go. For everyone here and everyone in the audience and anyone who's listening, every one of these people is a grassroots candidate. I'm pretty positive none of them are some of them are courage candidates with me and Sal, and I think Kyah is, and I'm not sure if anyone else is, but that is something that, yeah.
Yes, he is. There you
exactly.
go.
I think that we as Americans have to recognize that the impetus to donate to people is on us. The responsibility to do that is on us. It doesn't have to be a lot, but if you don't donate to candidates like all of us, then the only people who are donating to them are corporations, are PACs that don't have your interests in mind. Like, that is who's going to be giving out money. And so if you don't do it, someone else will be. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be a lot of us doing it. So please do consider donating to people, because even the littlest amount is the difference between me being able to put in a refill of these little flyers, which I've got canvassing teams waiting to go out and deliver them. And so if I can't pay the $1,000 it's going to cost me to print them, then I can't send those people out. And that is the mechanism by which we get known by our voters. Unless I suddenly became a millionaire, I'm not going to be able to do television commercials. I'm not even talking about $5,000. That does not buy you even the basics of what we need to run. So I know Ange was talking about $35,000. That's great and a good job. are driving all over the place, and we just have so many people in our districts. Kyah's right.
Yeah.
They are way too big.
Yeah,
But I
788.
do want to say,
And
guys,
one of the and,
thank you
and
for letting me in. I do have to go.
we appreciate you,
And I
Mike. Thanks
believe
for
I'm coming on the 22nd.
yes, you
for
are. We
a-
look forward
yeah.
to it. Yeah.
I
Thank you
very
so-
much do.
Thank you so very much for being here. We appreciate your input and your presence. Thank you. And donate to Mike. Donate to Mike. So he can make more flyers for people to pass out.
I'm assuming, like everyone, we have our websites in our bios, and you can go there and donate. I have an Act Blue account right there. It's literally the first button on the screen, and you just click on it, and
make sure
even
to
the
follow
littlest
him.
amount helps.
Make sure to follow all of the candidates who are here, and I'll go ahead and disconnect you.
I think I already am, and you all have a good day.
Thank you, Mike. One of the things I was going to say is that corporations became people way back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, when they were allowed to use the Due Process Clause. The Supreme Court said, yes, the Due Process Clause applies to corporations. Corporations became people. Nobody did anything about it. And once something happens, once the Supreme Court establishes something, that's pretty much it until the Supreme Court stops it again. Like once the Supreme Court established that segregation was fair and equitable, that was it until the Supreme Court said that it wasn't fair anymore. So we're looking at things right now in 2026 that we see are little pebbles that might be, by the time we get to election day or 2027, might be huge boulders, right? So what do you all see as something that's really small now, that's not being addressed, that you hope gets addressed and put to bed or reformed or changed? We already talked about ICE before it becomes a huge matter that's affecting all Americans, that's too big to stop. And you can go ahead.
I am an elementary school principal. I'm super passionate about education among many topics, but I feel like what has happened with the Department of Education has happened quietly. And I don't think people really understand the repercussions in that how what's happening at the federal level will trickle down to the state level in terms of funding streams that will go directly down to the school level, where they're going to be asking from our levies on our properties, and will have a great impact on affordability as we talk about that. There really needs to be a coordinated effort on what that's going to look like. I feel like it was a huge deal for a second, but there's so many things every single day. It has become a little pebble, as you say. That will really start to compound itself, though, as districts can't afford to run, schools can't afford to run. They're going to, the voters for money. Voters are saying no because they can't afford it. And that is going to have a grave impact on our education system in the country.
Okay, thank you, Ange. Sal, go ahead.
Healthcare, education, et cetera, those are all extremely important. But I have to say one thing that I keep seeing consistently pop up, which I agree with, are the Epstein files. We have 1% of the Epstein files. And based on what we've seen, I can tell you I've downloaded the files when they were released so I could analyze them myself. I'm a law student, so I'm looking for the language, the pictures, the people. There are so many deeply rooted politicians and powerful people in these photographs. We need to be way more concerned than we really are. We can't let that disappear or turn into noise, because it trickles down to both parties. So really, I want to see the corruption pruned from both parties. I want these files to be released so that the world can finally breathe. We know who was implicated, who will be convicted, who should be arrested, jailed for life. And then we can move forward. But as of right now, even with us trying to win these midterms, and I see someone mentioning Sasha down at the bottom. We have a person who said that, they were raped, kidnapped.
Oh, essay.
I'm sorry. Sasha Riley's story needs to be heard. There are victims right now that are disappearing into the background. We used to be about protecting the victims. So I really want to see these Epstein victims get justice. I want to see Sasha Riley's story get brought to light, get investigated, and get the same press as the rest of the victims. And I want all of these corrupt politicians removed from both parties. Then I feel like we can really start fresh with young generational leadership that actually represents the working class. And you won't have to worry about if we have these weird fetishes or if we're connected to a billionaire or married to a pro-Israel lobbyist. It was never supposed to be this way. So, I just want to really confront what's broken and actually fix it. I don't want us to keep managing a decline. So I really hope this year we get the opportunity to do that. I'm excited to fix, like I said, what's broken and put people in place that truly care about humanity.
All right. Thank you, Sal. And Anthony, go ahead.
Sure. I think Pebble would be something that all of us.
Anthony, your volume's a little bit low.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
All of us are living it right now. Access to elections and campaigns, campaign reform, election reform, and having more citizen legislators, grassroots candidates able to access fairly running in campaigns. I think that needs to be brought also as a Pebble side note.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you, Anthony. Kyah, go ahead. You're out there talking to the young people. What are the young people talking about that they feel like people are ignoring?
I think young people are feeling like they're ignoring what our future is going to look like in regards to our environment, how it's absolutely being destroyed. They're deregulating seemingly everything, allowing more cancer-causing chemicals and all kinds of stuff. They're not focused on how rapidly our climate is getting so much hotter. We're neglecting what our young people are looking forward to in the future, how they're even going to be able to raise children in an economy like this. They're neglecting whether or not us, young people are going to be able to afford houses. A lot of young people don't think they're going to be able to own a home because we have like 30% of the market owned by corporations, private equity, and the housing prices are sky high. And 1970s, these same houses used to be like 150,000. Now they're like 580 or something. I have multiple counties in my district. Watauga, its median home price is 650,000. That is still a rural, mountainous county. How does your average or your median home price reach so high? I have the third largest city in North Carolina, which is Greensboro. That median is 2 times higher than Greensboro. How does that happen? Right? And so our government neglects what the future is going to look like for young people. And ultimately, it's coming to bite them in their butt because now all of us young folk are trying to take all the old people's jobs. That's a reality. Mine is 82 years old. It's 3 times my age.
You're telling the truth. You're right.
3 times my age and then some. We are feeling the heat, and people are becoming so much more politically aware as a result because things are so bad. Now, a lot of them don't understand how to fix it. Government is the solution, but they're neglecting us in ways that most people don't understand because most people have, fortunately got their house right before like the COVID bubble and everything like that. Before everything inflated sky high, it was already pretty high, but it inflated even more so after COVID because they bought up everything. People don't realize that every time there's a depression, every time everything crashes for normal Americans, the rich, the ultra rich buy up everything because now it costs nothing, but everyone is too broke, too poor, too impoverished, too dealing with all the issues of what these crashes look like that they can't actually take advantage. And that's the worst problem that's the worst problem. These recessions, these crashes don't just happen. I know they believe it's like some kind of cycle that happens as a boom and bust. It's not. It's a result of our government neglecting to secure our economy long term. because they focus everything today. When things happen, it just happens, and they just throw more money in. And then eventually that initial money pit that we just created then sets us up for the next time it's going to happen, not that long later, like this AI bubble crash. Like, we just have so many different things going on. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm not going to yap too much more.
We appreciate you, Kyah. We appreciate you. And I agree with a lot of what you said. They are ignoring the younger generations. Absolutely, 100%. Is there going to be an environment for them? Is there going to be housing? Are there going to be jobs? I know a lot of young people who cannot find work, and that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way. Ashley, go ahead.
So I'm going to say this. Okay, I want to say about the promises. I meant to say this. I have this opinion that a lot of candidates can't make too many promises because of the way the economy is, right? So when we talk about funding, when we talk about policy creations, every day, our dear president makes us change those policies. In my policies, I've had to change a lot because I'm like, wait, okay, so he's taking that away. Okay, got to change this policy. So what I would say is, when I talk to my constituents or prospective constituents, I would say proposed policies, due to the timing that we live in, the things that are being taken away change. So I'm not here to promise. I'm here to propose policies that I will take to Washington if I am elected and push for to have come into. So please, guys, don't think that I'm promising anything. These are proposed policies, but we have to look at the current situation within the government as well. That's number one. Number two, I think that I have not heard a lot of candidates say, hold other leaders accountable. The issue is we should have held the administration accountable when we first started seeing this. Oversight and accountability needs to be prominent within the House of Representatives, within the government. We cannot continue to overlook the other leaders as well. It's not about going against them. It's not about being a snitch. It's not, because we're here for the people. So when we have other candidates that are not doing what they said that they were going to do, they're not empathizing with their district that they represent, that they so heartfelt said that they would take care of. We also as leaders have to say, you know what? We're here for each other, for the United States, and therefore that is not what is being done for your particular district. Oversight and accountability should be a big solution for how to get these things done. Thank you. I'm done.
All righty. Thank you, Ashley. And finally, Joy.
My career for the last 16 years has been in anti-trafficking and women's safety. And like Sal was saying about the Epstein files, but in general, 1 in 3 women are still experiencing violence in our country. And that's with a 20% reporting rate. So one thing that I think is a constant pebble that needs to be a boulder is truly making our United States safer. And obviously it's a global problem. But for me, that is a huge priority, is getting legislation forward, but really also changing the atmosphere and changing, the fact that only 1% of perpetrators typically see jail time at all. And so we're so focused on these, immigrants or trans folks or all these things, yet half of our government currently right now is being accused of violence against women, and they're our president and they're our defense secretary and they're, so for me, that's a huge priority, is just safety. And I think that truly it's going to take a shift for all of us to work together and to start having men be accountable. And men aren't the only perpetrators, but they're 93% of the perpetrators. So that's how we start, and that's how we communicate. And that is definitely a priority for me.
All righty. Thank you. And our time is up. I have held you all hostage for 2 hours. But we appreciate you so much for joining us for this roundtable discussion. This is one of those conversations, one of those kinds of get-togethers that I just never want to end, because everyone has so many good ideas and thoughts, and I want to hear all of them, and I just nerd out. And I appreciate everyone being here. for Sal and Anthony and Mike and Kyah and Ashley and Joy and Ange. Thank you so much for sharing your vision for the United States, for your district, and being candid about your experiences and your opinion about policy and the future of the United States. And, you know, whatever else is going on in the news, there's lots of news, lots of things to talk about, and people are very strongly opinionated, and that's fine too. And we're here for change. We're here for the people. We're here to remind people to vote in the primaries. Please, for the love of God, show up for the primaries. Show up for the primaries. Show up for the That's going to be the mantra. That's going to be the mantra for this year, because primaries are poorly attended, and everyone who is here this afternoon is running in a primary election, and we need you all to show up and show out. Show up and show out for your candidate, and make sure that you are supporting everyone who was on this panel. You know, send them a like, send them a follow, send them a gift, send them $5. Send them $5, send them $10. You know, it really bothers the Republican Party that we have all of these small dollar donors, as Mike Johnson likes to call us. But that's fine. It's the small dollar donors who are going to shift this country in a big way. I'm looking for progress. I'm hoping for progress. And to that tune, we have more town halls coming up. Our next town hall, if you all want to join us, we hope that you will, is Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Max Diaz, who is running for the U.S. House of Representatives Democrat primary for District 1 of South Carolina, followed at 8 p.m. by Alan Henderson, who is a candidate for the office of Mayor of Tampa, Florida. So again, Tuesday, January 20th at 6 o'clock, followed at 8 o'clock by our second of our doubleheader. There is the graphic. One who's running for the House of Representatives and one who is running for mayor of a major city in the United States. It promises to be another good time with more discussion and more introduction of candidates. Again, you all, please make sure you're registered to vote. Please make sure that you actually exercise your right to vote and support these candidates. Don't forget to donate to the campaign. Oh, that was interesting. My name is Ayana, and this is OVC, Our Vote Counts, which is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, as we have seen here today, and ensure every voice is heard through education, outreach, accountability, and action. We're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. We thank you, everyone, for joining us, for your participation, for your likes, and for your daily heart me's. Remember, your vote is your power. Everyone, have a good afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Helper,